Hi, this is Tansir with the Inventory. Today we're talking about Nektar's Impact LX range of MIDI keyboards. In our opinion, these are probably the best value for money MIDI keyboards that you can get right now. And in this video, we're going to talk to you a little bit and explain why that is. So one of the key features with the Nektar's Impact LX range and also their higher end Panorama range is their deep integration, what Nektar called deep integration. Now, what is different about the way these guys are doing mapping for your DAW and your plugins was different about the way they're doing it versus the other MIDI keyboards in the market is that they do not rely on protocols that are already existing, such as your Mackie HUI protocol. To be fair, the Mackie HUI protocol has been around for over a decade, so that tradition is kind of just carrying forward. And inherently, it does have some limitations, as you would expect for a protocol that's over 10 years old. So Nektar don't take that route. They've gone the harder route of writing customized, detailed integration for each and every DAW separately. And currently, the Impact LX range has support for 11 DAWs, and this includes all the popular ones such as Cubase, Logic, Bitwig, Reason, Fruity Loops, Reaper, Studio One, etc. So what exactly is this deep integration? Let's talk a little bit more about that, and let me show you how that works with the LX range. We have Logic set up over here. We're just using Logic as an example, but the concept is the same. So the way it works with all the other DAWs is kind of exactly like this. So let's take a closer look at the different sections. We're not going to cover the keys and your transpose functionality here because those are kind of standard. In this video, we just want to highlight some of the key differences that makes the Nektar Impact LX range so unique. So let's start off with the mixer section. As you would expect, all of the faders automatically map to the faders in your mixer, which means you can adjust volume for individual channels. The buttons below them control mute for each of the channels. By holding this last button down, it toggles them into solo. You can also press and hold this last button and move the 9th fader, which gives you access to the master volume immediately. And you can use the shift button here and then navigate in banks of 8 up and down. Another really cool feature is when you're navigating in banks and your physical position does not match with the software position, you can use the soft takeover function, which basically means that the fader does not move until it has reached the position in the software. Only then it kind of takes over the value and controls it. So that makes it easy to jump between different banks of mixer channels that are in different positions, making the entire fader bank far more useful. In the center section, as you can see, it's kind of there's a lot more going on here. Now there is a dedicated button for the mixer view. You can open up and hide the mixer view as you would. This is really useful because sometimes you're just composing and do not want to see the mixer. In such a case, you can hide it. Or sometimes you want to pull up the mixer to look at levels for individual tracks. In those cases, you can just pull up the mixer with a dedicated button over here. The button next to it pulls up individual instruments that are loaded on that particular track. So you can show or hide the view of the instruments right from here. And when the instrument view is active, all of these 8 knobs control the parameters for the individual instrument. When you're not in instrument view and in mixer view, these knobs automatically control pan for the corresponding first 8 channels in the mixer. Below that, we have using the shift button, you have an option to change tracks up and down. So you basically navigate between your sessions up and down. And you also, in instrument mode, have access to changing patches for individual plugins. Now, this might seem like a simple thing for most people, but so far no other MIDI controller allows you the option of changing patches for natively supported plugins. So that kind of makes the Nektar series very, very unique. Moving on to the transport section, we have your standard play, stop, forward, back, loop, and record. In addition to that, by holding down shift, you can get 6 additional functions out of your transport. So by holding shift and pressing the back button, you can set the left locator, set the right locator, and then you can activate your loop section in case you want to work on a particular section. So it's easy to set your L and R. This button, when you hit shift, basically jumps back to your left locator. Then you have a dedicated button for undo and also switching on your metronome on and off. So all in all, this whole section gives you a lot of control without you having to reach for the keys, for the keyboard rather, all the time. Moving to the pans, you have 8 velocity sensitive pans, and by using the shift and one of the 4 pad maps, you instantly have access to up to 4 banks of 8 pads. So making your 8 pads way more useful really immediately. The other awesome function about the pads are that, say for example, you want to remap what these particular pads are assigned to. In other controllers, you're going to have to go to the software editor and then kind of remap what they do. Whereas over here, you just hit the dedicated pad learn function, and in the pad learn, you select the pad, select the key, and boom, you've assigned that key to that pad. So you basically hit pad learn, keep assigning all of the pads to the various keys that you want, and get out of pad learn and you've reassigned it. That makes it super simple to reassign the pads, making them a lot more useful. Again, very well thought through, infinitely more useful than the others. So that's a quick rundown of the physical aspects and how they integrate with your DAWs. We think this is terrific stuff, and a lot of the functions that you see here have never before been seen in any budget MIDI controller for that matter. So which is why we think the kind of value that Nektar have brought to the table with the Impact LX range is pretty amazing. We strongly recommend you guys check it out. Thanks for watching.